Hello.
Hello. Maybe in the interest of time, we'll get started. So good morning, everyone. My name is Anand Padmanabhan, um, and I'm a research associate professor in the Department of Geography and GI Science at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And for iGuide, I play the role of a managing director for the project. So this is iGuide's VCO series. iGuide actually stands for the Institute for Geospatial Understanding through an Integrative Discovery Environment. And the Integrative Discovery Environment there is currently the iGuide platform. Is one of our discovery environments. And so that would be kind of the focus of today's talk. Um, Alex Michels. He is currently a postdoc at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, but he will soon be starting as a assistant professor at UT Dallas this fall, maybe less than a month now. So so yeah, that would be Alex's role, and he would still continue to be involved with iGuide and other things. So today, his focus would be on presenting the iGuide platform, introducing you so that you can log into the platform. We can go any direction you guys want. I guess Alex has some prepared kind of things that he would go through, but feel free to interrupt um, and take it. I guess this is a virtual consulting office, so the VCO. What it means is like it's kind of like an interactive session. It's not like a webinar where you just present one way. So it's kind of yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt, unmute yourself. It's kind of a small enough crowd for us. So let's keep it as interactive as we want. So without much ado, I guess I'll pass it on to Alex. Yeah.
A little bit more ado. I just wanted to mention upcoming VCOs. So we have next week, look inside oldinsurancemaps.net. This is a crowdsourcing platform for georeferencing historical fire insurance maps. Uh, I know that sounds niche, but actually fire insurance maps are really critical for a lot. Like you could look at redlining, you could look at urban sprawl, you could look at a lot, but also he's going to be talking about the software stack he uses behind the platform. So if you're interested in any kind of geospatial software engineering, building your own platform, that might be a great talk. Um, the week after, from fragmented to findable, navigating the SDOH, that's social determinants of health data landscape with integrated discovery and ecosystem. So this is another platform that is very cool. If you like anything we're doing, definitely come back for their talk. They have a different direction with their platform, and it's more specialized, but it's still very interesting. Jeff Boeing is then going to come at the end of July to talk about the science of urban networks. He does a lot of great work on urban network science. He developed the OSMNX software package in Python, very popular. And then later in August, I think we have another one that we're still finalizing the details of for the 13th, but for the 20th, we have GeoMapClip, which is geolocating satellite imagery. And then we'll have more in between these two, but we're starting to fill out with more spatial AI talks for August and September, including this mapping wildfire risk to transportation infrastructure with spatial AI. So lots of fun talks coming up in the BCO series. But getting back to the topic, this is just going to be a rather informal introduction to the iGuide platform. I have some slides, but most of this is going to be hands-on, so don't close out just because you see the slide deck. I promise this is just going to be the beginning. So a bit of an outline. I'm going to kind of describe what iGuide is a little bit, and then what is the iGuide platform. I'll probably speed through that first because Anand covered it pretty well. But then the hands-on, we're going to be talking about how to create an account, kind of how to use the site. So touring, looking at the search functionalities, what a knowledge element is. That's just our generic term for papers, software, data, etc. How you can contribute to the platform yourself. And then I don't think we'll have time, but if we do, we can jump into the JupyterHub that's connected, at the very least, some basics. And as Anand said, please feel free to ask questions throughout. This isn't supposed to be a lecture. This is supposed to be more of an interactive and trying to help you use these tools. Um, so starting with this, First section, what is iGuide? What's the iGuide platform? The Institute for Geospatial Understanding through an Integrative Discovery Environment has 6 main teams that are working on a variety of different science catalysts and different research um, thrusts to help move those research catalysts forward. The iGuide platform is mainly developed by the core CI capabilities and services team, which just means we build software and systems to help people do science, basically. And the big idea with the iGuide platform is trying to connect data, communities, domain knowledge, educational resources, and partners from across a variety of domains, a variety of expertises, a variety of ways of doing science, all of these different domain sciences together into one platform. Because I'm sure if you've ever worked on an interdisciplinary project, how often do you have the problem where like you both have the same problem, maybe you just have a different name for it, or you both have different workflows for data imputation or for dealing with missing data. Like we're trying to make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel in our little silos. We're trying to all come together and work on these larger problems collaboratively. So the iGuide platform, our goal is to be this missing middle. So we've got distributed data sets, we've got a big variety of resources already out there, and we're trying to bring together convergent science. So not just, again, working in our silos, working together. And beyond just the iGuide core CI capabilities team, there's a big team largely at UIUC who's been working on this user environment. So this platform UI that we're going to show you over the last year. A lot of this has come together in just a year. So if it's a little rough around the edges, we would love your feedback. This is still an active development. So please do let us know. But the main principles for the iGuide platform is to be simple, smooth, scalable, and searchable. We know that if it feels like pulling teeth to use the platform, you're not going to use it. So our focus has been on that. And again, if you run into issues where it's not one of these four, please do let us know. Um, so at a high level, the user environment has knowledge elements. This is again our knowledge database of data, code, papers, etc. We have both geospatial and also knowledge graph connections between the elements, which we're going to get into. We have a few different ways to search, including an intelligent search that's powered by LLMs. We'll get to play with a little bit. And then, of course, user interface, we have application programming interfaces, APIs to interact. So, for example, a Python package to download data directly from the platform is being rolled out soon. And then, of course, contribution, which we'll walk through how you can get your own paper and notebooks and data into the platform. There's an associated Jupyter environment. If you're not familiar with Jupyter, that's just an interactive programming interface where you can run chunks of cells, the blocks of cells, and you can get the output immediately. So it's a lot more approachable for people who maybe aren't super technical. You're not in a terminal interface. You have this nice graphical user interface where you can run things. And then for more advanced users, we have tools like CyberJust Compute for scaling to high performance computing resources. So this is what the user environment looks like. I'll post this link in a few slides when we get there to see what this looks like. And again, our focus is convergence, knowledge sharing, and discovery. So you can search and discover across all iGuide elements. You can make connections to discover relationships. So again, maybe we're all using the same data sets and we don't know it, and we have different approaches to processing that data set. Our goal is also actionable knowledge elements. So the notebooks that are contributed to the platform can be opened on our iGuide Jupyter environment. You can actually use them there. There's not a big barrier where you have to like set up your own software environment. And then also linking educational materials to the UC GIST, which is Geospatial Information Science and Technology body of knowledge. So trying to, again, leverage the resources that are out there. We're not reinventing the wheel. So this will be a little technical, but I'm not going to go too far into it. But this is the tech stack in case there anyone interested in that. At the front end, we use CI logon for a single sign-on. So you're not going to have to set up a new account. You're just going to use your academic credentials or your Google account or whatever. Everything's then built on JavaScript, so Node.js and React. We have a variety of different uh, sections of our code written for data user registration and individual elements, and then that all interacts with a backend using technologies like Neo4j, OpenSearch, etc. So for that front end, the authentication again is just an out-of-the-box solution with say a logon. We don't want to know your password because we don't want to be responsible for it. And we just integrate with a number of identity providers. When we get there, let us know if your identity is not in there. It's through something called CI logon, so we don't keep that list, but we can help you figure out how to get your institution added in case you want to use this going forward. And again, our design principles, usability and simplicity. For knowledge discovery, we have a few different search. We have full text, we have spatiotemporal. We also have an LLM search that we'll get to play with in a minute. For data management, everything is in something called Neo4j, which is a graph database. So we can link things together and treat those links as first-class citizens, and we'll get to play around with that graph in just a moment. It also means that it's scalable, robust, and flexible, so feel free to add as much as you want to the iGuide platform. We can handle it. And this is all written in Node.js and Express.js. And it's all also open source on the NSF iGuide GitHub. So if you're interested in the code base or contributing, maybe setting up your own platform similar to this, feel free to check that out. We have data access utilities. So I mentioned earlier the Python library we're working on. So if you see any data here, it should be relatively simple to get that data into the iGuide platform and to play around with it. And then a question we get a lot, who is this platform for? It's for anyone curious about convergence science or the geospatial data revolution, but honestly, it's even broader than that. We're trying not to restrict ourselves. If you find this useful, use it, basically. But a few examples that have come up are educators. So we have people who are hosting their materials here and using our JupyterHub to run classes. That way you're not wasting the first 2 or so weeks of class trying to teach everyone how to configure Conda on their laptop. Researchers, so sharing code, data, and papers linked all together to facilitate adoption. So instead of, searching through Scholar and then trying to find links to your GitHub, it's just all linked together right here. Policy experts, so we've been reaching out more and more to make our research on the platform actionable and get it into the right hands. And then developers, so if you are working on your own code or your demo notebooks, again, feel free to contribute them so that others can learn from you. So thankfully, that's the end of the slides. We're going to get to the hands-on portion. I guess, are there any questions before we move into that? If not, everyone can start navigating to this website. I'll put it in the chat. But if you have questions, again, at any time, feel free to ask. Maybe we'll do... and our website has responsive design. So I have this side by side so you can see the slides at the same time, but notice it'll look a little bit different because it's only taking up half the screen, but it is the same website. It's just this bar gets folded into a hamburger menu. But this is a screen you should see when you get there. I guess a thumbs up when you're ready or some other reaction if you're still waiting. And again, feel free to ask questions, unmute, use the chat, whatever you need to do. Seems like everyone's ready. So yeah, here you get to, maybe we'll just, for simplicity, toggle back and forth between the tabs. So on the landing page, we have a variety of options, including the tour. We're going to come back to the tour in a moment. First, we're going to log in. So you're going to select this login button on the top right. You do not have to register an account beforehand. Just logging in for the first time will create an account. And we use something called CI logon. The one thing I have to tell you is do not use Orchid. Currently, their API isn't working the way we want it to. But the way CI logon works is you can select an identity provider. So here you can pick your institution, you can pick NSF Access, SO Access CI. If your institution is not here, which you can type to search, so Illinois, down it is. If your institution is not here, you can pick, I think we have GitHub, Google, I believe Microsoft is in here as well. But again, we don't run this list. This is run by, oh, you were able to get in with ORCID. Interesting. So I know in the past, I think it wasn't handing back the email address in a format we recognized or something, but it's good to know that that might be fixed. I guess we'll find out soon. But if your institution is here, pick that because there are a few things that we automatically enable for academic emails, but we don't for just random emails like the Google account, because anyone can sign up for a Google account, and we want to restrict certain things to prevent malicious users. So for example, someone using our LLM search as a discount GPT. But once you log in, you didn't see it here, but you'll log in through your institution's credentials. So I would log in through Illinois, and that's completely through Illinois. We don't see your password. We don't see anything except your email and your name, because we don't want to we don't want to have that risk anyways. All right, so let us know if you're logged in, and then you should end up at your user profile. Obviously, yours will be mostly blank, but any issues with logging in so far? All good? All right. And again, you run into issues at any time, feel free to use the chat, speak up, whatever works best for you. So here, we're going to take a moment just to set up your user profile. So under user here, there's edit, or if you're on like a mobile device, you go to update profile. And you can fill in some information. So you can set your first and last name. These are locked because these come from CI logon. You can add a profile picture. You can add a GitHub profile, LinkedIn, Google Scholar, set a bio. Just give everyone a minute to customize your user profile. And again, questions or issues at any point, feel free to let us know. Or just general feedback, I suppose. Maybe it's not an issue, but there's something you want added to this list of websites or some functionality that you think would be cool. All right, I think we're gonna move on. But again, you can always come back to this just by going to, you can click here, update profile, or if you go to my profile, you can then click this edit button. But moving on, now we're gonna look at the Tor functionality and some of our search functionalities. So basically, how do you get around this platform? So if you go to the home screen, and you can do that by clicking this logo anytime. So we're gonna click this logo, and then we're going to click this Tor button. And that's going to, I guess we'll do the Tor first. I guess I lost track of the slides. So this is just going to briefly walk you through a few things. So welcome to the iGuide platform, your gateway to exploring and sharing geospatial insights through interactive maps, curated datasets, publications, and more. You can always come back to the home page by clicking the logo. The About page has some good information, like what we're all about, but also there's a getting started. So if you have questions later, frequently asked questions, there we go. And even some tutorials. You can also use this navigation bar up here to explore knowledge elements by category. We're going to look at those in just a minute. After logging in, you can hover over your user avatar to manage your profile or contribute knowledge elements. Again, we'll do that in just a moment. harness the power of advanced cyber infrastructure through JupyterHub. To access this feature, please log in with your academic email. So if this Jupyter button is grayed out for you and you can't click it, feel free to let us know in the chat. Again, if you use something like Orchid or Google, it may not be enabled by default, but I think we have one of the developers on the call, yeah, who can assist you and just add you to our allow list. And then we have data-rich maps to support your research and educational goals, a network of related elements through our connected elements tool, and you can even do all sorts of fun searching that we're going to try out in a second. So we'll start with that map. If you click the map, it'll show knowledge elements with geospatial metadata. So if you want to show up on our map, you do have to fill out the geospatial metadata. But when we get there, I'll show you that it's not as painful as you're thinking. So if we click here, you can see a variety of knowledge elements around the country. I might need to have different zoom levels for them to show up. Yeah, there we go. If you click on it, you can see the element. And then if you click on the element, it'll bring you to the page. So if you're interested in a particular study area, you can zoom in. So for example, Chicago, I can zoom in. It'll take a second and you can see the different, looks like mostly flood risk maps here. But as you add more and more data, that'll be in papers, notebooks, etc., that'll all show up on this map. So then if we go back to the home screen, we can click this connect. And this will show a knowledge graph of all of the current knowledge elements. And they're colored. So red here are educational resources, blue are data sets, this yellow or orange is publications. I think green was the last one, are notebooks. So these are Jupyter notebooks. So you can see all the different connections between the knowledge elements. And actually, if I click on one of these and I go to the page, those connections are also shown down here under related elements. So this is a good way to keep together, for example, Nick's publication, but also some of the data that he used, some educational resources to explain the concepts, related publications, etc. And this will only show knowledge elements with connections. So it's not just going to be a bunch of blank nodes. So if you want your stuff to show up here, again, feel free to connect it to either your own stuff or other stuff that's already in the database. So if you're working on metacoupling, feel free to make a connection to metacoupling. Or maybe there's already a data set in the iGuide platform that you use for your research, and you can show a new way that that data set's being utilized. And then last, if we click this discover, it'll show you our search functionality. Looking through our elements with keywords is a pretty basic keyword search. So if I type in access, here's a variety of resources related to access. And you can also break it down by type. So notebook, data, publication, educational resource, map and code as well, but nothing came up under that search. But if you have a EDU account, and if this isn't enabled, again, feel free to put in the chat. We also have a smart search that uses something called retrieval augmented generation, RAG, to provide answers relevant to the iGuide platform. So basically what this is doing is it does a couple different search methods on our database, and then it provides those resources to a large language model, an LLM like ChatGPT, and that LLM synthesizes those results and provides you with an answer based on those results. So the idea is to reduce hallucination. Of course, it's still not perfect, but let's try out this question. So to get to it, you go to the home page, and then you should see this try smart search button right here. Again, if you don't, feel free to let us know in the chat. This isn't available to all users by default, but if you set up an account with EDU, it should be there. So there's a few different example questions, but I'll just put my example one in. And it takes a little bit because, again, it's doing this traditional search, and then It's giving all those results to the large language model. It's generating a final answer. There's also a few other steps in there. I think we have a paper on this coming out soon with the full details. But yeah, so here it says the National Inventory of Dams provides comprehensive data on all known dams in the U.S., including their location, type, size, and more. The data set is maintained by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and is a valuable resource for assessing the risk of aging dams. Yeah, Eric, there's someone in the chat asking to be added to the Jupyter Smart Search. Could you make them a trusted user or trusted user plus, whatever the appropriate tier is?
Thank you.
Yeah. So it also talks about this National Inventory of Dams, but also some Google News articles. And in addition to having these resources here, there's also a longer list of related knowledge elements, just in case the LLM doesn't come up with the best answer. And you can also, because LLMs are not experts, they're just useful for exploring. It's under constant development where we've been tweaking parameters weekly, and your feedback is encouraged and appreciated. So if you get a bad answer, you can do just a simple thumbs up, thumbs down, but you can also come in and give us more detailed feedback on the issue. So we are hoping that this will be a useful tool for exploration, but we know, this isn't going to be PhD level knowledge. We're just trying to make this a useful tool, and your feedback is very useful to fine-tuning that. So that is kind of the end of our tour and our search functionalities. Now I'm going to kind of go through our different kinds of knowledge elements by type. So knowledge elements is just the generic term we use for something on the platform. And right now we have 5 different types, but this is growing. So if there's something you think we're missing, feel free to let us know. But we currently have maps, data sets, notebooks. This is Jupyter notebooks, educational resources, and code. So if you go back to the home screen, they're all arranged right here. First, we'll look at maps. This Maps tab allows you to browse contributed maps and show off your cartography skills. Right now, it's largely FEMA maps from flood risk maps from FEMA, but you can contribute really anything. So here's an interactive dashboard from the Oregon Department of Transportation. So you can contribute both static maps, so just a single image. So let me show you one of those. So this is a single image, but it's panable on our interface. Or you can contribute interactive dashboards like this. So this is just a web page that I can play around with. But then I can also click here to go to the actual website. So this is a interactive map made through ArcGIS. So whether you are creating just PNG maps or ArcMap or leaflet and folium, you can add all of those to the platform. So yeah, you can upload static images or link to web maps through this. There's also data sets that allows you to browse contributed data sets to analyze and explore. So these provide a brief description of the data set, tags, again for searchability, links to the data source so that people can get it, and associated knowledge elements. So if we go to data sets, I'll just click this one. So here we have the authors, and note that we have both authors and contributors. So you can contribute resources that maybe you didn't create, but you think would be useful and still give attribution to the creators. A short description of the data set, some tags to make searching a bit easier, and then a link to the data set. And I believe there's both so here, this shows it. So there's a link to the website that has the data set. So for example, the web page. But then you can also provide this download data. So this will be the direct link. So here it would be this link, so that as soon as you click it, it'll start downloading the data set. And that will be used in our Python package to pull things directly to the platform. We also have notebooks that allow you to browse contributed Jupyter notebooks to be run on the platform. So there's this Notebooks tab. Notebooks provide a brief description, tags, a preview of the notebook, and a link to run the notebook on the Jupyter iGuide platform. So I'll just click this one, which we used for a previous VCO. So this is grabbing the notebook from GitHub and showing you a preview of what this looks like. And we won't do it now, but I can click this. Well, just to show you, if I click run this notebook, it'll open our JupyterHub and automatically pull the data from GitHub directly into your JupyterHub so that you can start using it. So that's what this is doing right there, is pulling from Git. And then it will open that notebook right here for you to play with. So the goal is to make it as easy as possible to see a notebook and directly start running it and exploring. Publications tab allows you to browse contributed publications, and we take kind of broad stance here. This could be academic papers, conference papers, blogs, etc. So here we go to publications. Let's click this. So again, title, authors, a link to the paper, ideally a DUI or some other persistent link, the abstract, some tags, and then we automatically generate a citation based on, I think, DOI is believe where this, yeah, this comes from Crossref. So we're using their API for that, and you can easily copy that over into a paper. In all notebooks have the related elements, assuming they're added. This one doesn't have one. But if we go, let's see if any of these ones will. Yes, this will have related elements and show the network for that publication. All of our knowledge elements have those features at the bottom. And then educational resources are the kind of the most interesting. They're much broader. So instead of just having, the defined elements, they allow you to basically write your own kind of blog article, almost kind of explaining what something is. You can provide all sorts of links and publications. So this, if you are an instructor or maybe you're running workshops, this could be an interesting place to do that. This is also where we host a lot of our convergence curriculum through iGuide. So this has been worked on by the Workforce and Education Development Team, I believe is the name of the team, working on this convergence curriculum for geospatial data science. A lot of that's hosted here. So their goal with that has been to come up with 3 sentences on each topic. So if you just need a very brief description of what it is to explain to your students or to your workshop, but you don't really want to get into depth, 3 slides. So this is if you are putting together a larger talk and you're kind of just dropping in maybe a definition and an example into one of your courses, and then a 3-hour module. So this is, for example, a week in your class that you want to talk about geospatial data science, but you're not an expert and you're not sure where to start. This is a module that you can just kind of drop in, complete with reading assignments, explaining kind of the motivation, key takeaways, reflection questions for your students, a slide for your lecture with lecture notes, and then a hands-on activity. This is a great resource for educators. And of course, if you want to contribute, I believe contribution to education resources requires even more additional privileges, but feel free to reach out either through the chat, through email, or if at any point you run into any kind of issue, there's a contact us form on the bottom of our webpage. So if you run into issues or you have questions, feel free to use that. And then the last one, and also the newest one, is code. So we do have Jupyter Notebooks, which are code, but we also wanted to acknowledge different software packages that are not just running notebooks and maybe don't have publications yet. And this is a good place for you to publish your code and to get all of your related elements. So what this looks like, you have the authors, the title, a short description, a link to GitHub along with some of the metadata from GitHub. This is a preview of the README from GitHub. And then tags and any related elements as well. So if you have any software packages out there that you want to share, feel free to add that here. So I'm going to take a quick break. I know I've been talking for a while, just to give everyone a minute to explore the platform on your own. If you're not sure what to look for, a few guiding questions would be, are there any resources that are already on the platform that are useful for your work? Are there any resources you wish were on the platform? And then what knowledge elements can you contribute to the platform? So this question. If another staff and I would want to work on the same Jupyter notebook, that's a great question. So we do not currently have collaborative editing set up on our Jupyter notebook. What you could do is do that through GitHub. So if I just pick a random thing. So you could make, yeah. And we do have Git, I believe we have a Git extension on here. Yeah, so you can go in here and find the GitHub extension. So in case someone's not super familiar with GitHub, you can always do that. But yeah, we do not currently have collaborative editing though. It is something we are experimenting with, and I'll definitely let the development team know that there was a request about that. Yeah. But yeah, just want to give everyone a minute to look through the iGuide platform, see what's useful, what's missing, what you can add. And then, of course, if you have any questions or issues, feel free to ask in the chat or to unmute. Again, this is hopefully not just going to be a lecture, but that's okay if it is.
Were people able to access the platform, the Jupyter environment? Like any feedback, like thumbs up or yes, comment would also be fine.
I'm the one that has the ORCID access, and Eric was able to establish me as a trusted user, so everything works just fine. It's really fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
So as you're looking around, feel free to share. So you can keep looking around, but if you found something interesting, feel free to let us know. If there's resources that are already here that maybe you weren't aware of, but you could be useful for your work. If there's anything we're missing, feel free to let us know. If there's anything that you want to add, keep that in mind because we'll be walking through contribution in just a moment. But yeah, just give everyone a moment, one more moment to look around and to share any findings. Okay, we will move on. So I hopefully when you were looking around and thinking about what to share, you've found some things to contribute because that is what is next. We're going to walk through the contribution process. I'm going to go kind of quickly through the different knowledge elements again to talk about what you need to contribute, and then I'll do more of a hands-on that you can follow along with. So to contribute to knowledge elements, if you go to your user profile, you can click the new element button. So again, my profile, click this new element, and you can see all the different options. You may not have educational resource because again, that's not available to everyone by default, but if you're interested in doing that, feel free to reach out. You can also just see the drop down here. This is what the contribution form looks like in general. So different elements have slightly different fields to enter, but a lot of them are standard across every knowledge element. So there's a visibility, so you can set things to public or private, a title, the authors, and again, author and contributor don't need to be the same thing. So if you want to contribute something on behalf of your team or one of your students, feel free to do so, but you can also reach out to them to contribute it as well. Some tags, which again are useful for searching, a short about, some sort of description, and a thumbnail image that you want to add. You can also add image credit, just in case you don't have it's not your image. So for data sets, those are going to ask for a link to the data set. So that's required. That's in red. So this would be a link to the web page that has the data set, but you can also add a direct download link. So again, that would be like a link that I click it and it automatically starts the download in the browser. And you can also add a data set size. This is especially useful if you're adding like large data sets. People would like the warning before they start downloading a terabyte onto their laptop. Notebooks, you just need a link to the notebook on GitHub, and this kind of tells you what that looks like. So github.com/your username, the repo name, blob, the name of the branch, and then the name of the notebook. So if I go in here, and if you forget any of these, this will all be posted, but also there are helpful little icons that you can hover over to remind yourself what this field is supposed to be, just in case the short description isn't enough. For publications, we want a link to the publication with a DOI or some kind of persistent identifier being preferred. DOI is definitely preferred because we have an API that can fill in some metadata for you, which I'll demo when we get to the hands-on part. So if you don't want to fill out all these fields, it could be useful. Educational resources, again, this is not by default for everyone because it's very broad. This is just a markdown editor. You can kind of do whatever you want in here. As you saw with one of Eric Shook's, you can embed Word documents, you can embed slides, you can really do anything you need in here. And that's intentionally flexible to meet a variety of needs. Maps, as we covered, either a static image, which you're just going to upload under this thumbnail image, but we're going to display the larger version. And then if it's a interactive map or a web map or ArcGIS, something like that, you can just put a link here in this iframe link, and we'll display that embedded in the web page, but we'll also provide links to your web map. And then for code, right now, I think we only support GitHub, but if there's demand for GitLab or other sources, feel free to reach out and you just put that link in there. And of course, the title, the description, everything else. Every element also allows you to specify related elements. This is where those links come in, and they're bi-directional links. So you don't have to go in and add a link for everything to everything else. As soon as you do it once, it'll be linked. And you can add them in any order. So just to show you what that looks like, you select that's educational resources. If I go to map, I can select a publication. And then in here, you just search so that you're getting only existing things in the database. You don't accidentally mistype it by one word and fail to make the link. And you can add as many of those as you need. Spatial metadata. So we are using an existing aardvark metadata architecture. And this looks like a lot, but I promise you it's not as bad as it seems because we have an API to do the autofill. So there's a spatial coverage name. So this is a natural language description of the place, a geometry that describes the place, bounding box, a centroid, whether or not that polygon is georeferenced, the temporal coverage, so how many years does your data or publication cover, also index years, but you don't have to do all of that, because if I just put in Chicago, oh, it's going to ask for all of that. Chicago and hit autofill metadata. This is using the Nominatum API, which is the same thing that OpenStreetMap uses. If I click that, it'll fill in all this information for me. So we don't need to spend an hour coming up with this polygon by hand. And again, putting those spatial metadata in is useful for the findability of your stuff. So for example, if someone goes to the map, it'll pop up there, but also we're working on more advanced spatial search functionalities. And then you can also describe a license or any other like funding information that you need at the bottom. Again, this is an active development, so if we're missing a field that you want added, feel free to let us know. So now I'm going to briefly walk through the process of contributing a knowledge element. Feel free to follow along, and as always, let us know if you have any issues or questions. So I'm just going to demo it with this publication real quick. So if I go in, new publication. There we go. I'll make it public. And then I'm going to use our Crossref API. I had an extra space there, so it got mad, but if I get rid of the space, it's fine. And I click this autofill metadata. So it's going to grab some of this information from Crossref automatically. I can add some tags. So ABM, CyberJS. And then all I need to really do is copy the abstract from the web page because that didn't get pulled from Crossref for some reason. And then I would need to add a thumbnail. If there's any related elements, I could link that here. And if we look at the paper, this was in Miami, Florida. So here, I'll put Miami. Oh, no. Here, I'll put Miami. Click this autofill. Now, we were looking at Miami-Dade, not Ohio or Kansas or anything like that. So I'll just click this. This will automatically fill in that info for me. And now I'm basically done, ready to submit. So that is the contribution process. I don't know if we have too much time to get into the JupyterHub part, but it's pretty self-explanatory if you're used to Jupyter. If not, we have an intro to iGuide notebook. So if you go, I think it's actually also in the getting started. Yeah, so if you go to getting started, it's linked there, or you can search intro to iGuide. And this walks you through kind of the basics of using Jupyter. So if you or a colleague or a student aren't super familiar with that, it'll teach you kind of what the Jupyter interface looks like and how to use it, how to run stuff through Jupyter. Yeah, you can, it's so the iGuide platform can be used to run whatever you want, whatever notebooks you want. So if you go here and you click this button, you can add a folder and you can make your own notebooks pretty easily. Hosting the data. So you have your own file system on the platform where you can upload data. But if you're going to be hosting very large data sets, like more than a few gigabytes, you should reach out to us and we can put that on like a shared drive just so that like it's not super sustainable to give everyone terabytes of storage. But yeah, you are encouraged to use this platform for your own work. We just ask that when it's ready to go live, when it gets published, you just link back. You add your notebook or your data or whatever to the iGuide platform so that other people can then benefit from your work. But yeah, it's a great question. And if you just click this button, this Jupyter button, this will open the Jupyter without going directly to a notebook, so you can do whatever you need there. So yeah, just a few things that we're working on. Spatial search. We're adding DOIs to certain knowledge elements. So if you have a data set or something that isn't already registered somewhere else, we're going to be issuing that soon. Linking different logins. So if you have, say, an Illinois account and an ORCID account, linking those together in case you change institutions, lose access. And our Python data access package is also rolling out soon. So that is just to help you easily and quickly download data from the platform directly into the platform's JupyterHub. So if there are any questions for us, and again, it's a work in progress, so all of your feedback and criticisms are welcome. You can either do that here or through our contact form. But thank you. Yeah, so questions or feedback, there's feedback form, and then of course we have to acknowledge the NSF for the support. And thank you for coming to today's VCO.
Thank you, Alex. And yeah, if anyone has questions, please do let us know.
And there's no such thing as a dumb question. If something doesn't seem super intuitive, feel free to let us know. Because if you're wondering about it, it's likely that other people are wondering about it, but they're not here to ask questions. They're kind of just getting lost and giving up. So we'd much rather fix it early. Or if there's any questions about how you could use this for your own work, we're also happy to answer those in the next 8 or so minutes. The few remaining participants, any particular questions, feel free to ask through the chat or unmute. We're happy to help with anything you're struggling with or answer any questions you may have.
Yeah. If not, let's wrap up this VCO. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all next week.